The Avalanche blockchain has been a popular choice across some of the biggest tech companies and financial institutions in the world, including Amazon, JPMORGAN, and Citigroup, all of which have adopted their subnet feature for different use cases. So in today's episode of the Everything Crypto Show, we are going to break down these collaborations and why I believe the Avax token will be one of the biggest winning altcoins in the upcoming bull run. Now, before we hop into the content, just a friendly reminder that I am not a financial advisor. I am simply here for your crypto news and entertainment purposes. And if you do enjoy the content, please consider hitting that sub and like button and turn that notification bell on so you can be notified when all of our latest videos go live on the channel. So I do want to take this video to update you on the Avalanche blockchain adoption as well as the Avax token, which has definitely seen some really nice price appreciation. We were really covering this altcoin heavily when it was in the low double-digit range to high single-digit range. Anywhere from like $12 to $8. We were talking about this altcoin quite a bit. I said that given the partnerships this coin is making with some of the biggest institutions and tech companies, that I thought it was ridiculous for this altcoin to be trading basically in the bottom range of its trading history. And it has made a very nice move since then after peaking out at about $50, currently sitting just below $40 and still well off of that previous all-time high at about $148. Even with the new partnerships it has made, there is still a lot of room to go for this altcoin to reach those previous prices. Now, we saw Citigroup announce earlier this week that they used an Avalanche Spruce subnet to explore the tokenization of private equity funds to completely re-architect capital markets. This is the second instance of Citigroup working on Avalanche subnets. The first effort was on a Forex initiative with Project Guardian, which was announced back in mid-November, and that really did mark the beginning of the nice rally in the Avax token, right? We can see here that before that news came out, the token was in between the $10 to $20 range, and now it's basically up a double from the top end of that range. So before we talk about exactly what those partnerships entailed or those collaborations, I do want to highlight the subnet feature, and I think it's really important to understand the subnet feature to understand, what makes Avalanche different from every other layer 1 blockchain out there. And, this is basically the key to the Avalanche blockchain offering infinite scalability on the network. So we're going to break this down for you. Basically, the first thing you have to know is how to create a subnet. In order to create a subnet, you have to stake 2,000 AVAX to the primary network, and then this allows you to create your own custom subnetwork. Now, these subnetworks basically all run independently of each other while powering the primary network, which means they do not conflict with each other. They are not fighting each other for transactions. All transactions are happening on its own specific subnet while also contributing to the primary network. And these subnetworks allow for complete customizability. Whatever the institution is looking for, they can basically determine their own fee regime, determine what they are building on the subnetwork, even determine if they want to use the Avax token for gas on the subnet or their own native token. But the most important thing to note is that you do still have to stake that 2,000 Avax, become a delegator of the primary network in order to open up a subnet. So, hypothetically, increased demand for subnets does equate to increased demand for the Avax token itself. And that's the first important thing to understand. Now, these subnets have been picking up a lot of steam because of this infinite scalability. We actually saw Amazon partner up with Avalanche, looking to expand enterprise and government use of blockchain technology. And they basically talk about why this is so important here, as every subnet acts as an independent blockchain with its own customized rule sets. These features make it possible to create a subnet for a specific use case that isn't properly served by a shared layer 1 blockchain. At the same time, these subnets are also interoperable, enabling easy communication and digital asset transfer from one to another. So a very unique architecture that has them all running independently of each other while also being interoperable with each other and all contributing back back to that primary network. So Ava Labs is now a member of the AWS Partner Program. They also joined AWS Activate, and AWS users can now launch an Avalanche validator node, which aids in securing the Avalanche network by participating in the authentication of transactions with convenient one-click deployment. And they are looking to offer the easy deployment of subnetworks in the future, to my understanding. And that really is the main goal here, is to make it more accessible to enterprises and governments. Now, enterprises and governments is definitely, not unfamiliar territory for Avalanche. Okay, we discussed back in mid-November. We basically saw both JPMorgan and Citigroup tapping into the Avalanche Spruce subnet for different features. So the first thing we saw here was JPMorgan, and basically JPMorgan actually used Onyx. So they basically connected Onyx, their blockchain, with Layer 0 to connect to an Avalanche Evergreen subnet, enabling seamless subscriptions and redemptions for funds offered by WisdomTree Prime. So JPMorgan, for those of you that don't know, they do have their very own Onyx blockchain, and they effectively tapped into Layer 0 to facilitate the interoperability of assets, or the transferring of assets from their private blockchain to a permissioned, aka private Avalanche Evergreen subnet. And then that enabled these seamless subscriptions and redemptions for funds. It says here again, Avalanche Evergreen subnets stand out as individual blockchains tailored to meet institutional needs, incorporating features such as EVM compatibility, network privacy, custom gas features, and permissioning at various levels, validation, smart contract deployment, and transaction levels. We also had Citigroup tap into Ava Labs here. They actually selected Avalanche's Ava Cloud for their Forex trading. This was on a USD to Singapore dollar pair. And they noted here that its adaptability allows it to be customized for any fiat currency pair. So that was the first time that we actually saw, JPMorgan and Citigroup working with Avalanche. And the second time it came up more recently as CITIBANK tested tokenization of private equity funds on Avalanche. So they actually covered this here on their very own website as well. Now, one thing that I find super interesting is the fact that these banks, they really don't like to mention what blockchain they are working with. And I think it's really interesting because if you are somebody who is not involved in crypto, if you don't look beneath the surface, all you know is that these banks are adopting crypto. They're looking at blockchain technology, but you really have to look beneath the surface to understand what blockchains they are adopting. And therefore, what tokens do we believe are going to benefit the most from that, right? So if we actually take a look at the Citigroup website here, it's mentioned. Okay, we can see right here the proof of concept, which was conducted on the Avalanche Spruce institutional test subnet. So they did actually mention it. So that's my mistake. But, I do think it's really interesting now, and probably even more bullish, that we are seeing them mentioned just right on the websites of these big banks, right? I mean, you can definitely see that if you do look into Avalanche and you kind of figure out the native token is Avax, that you can see why this token might move to the upside based on this news. And remember, I'm thinking about this from the perspective of people who are not involved in crypto yet, who are hearing about this and potentially looking to get involved. They mentioned Avalanche. I don't think they even specifically mentioned the Avax token one time. No, they don't. But obviously, increased adoption of the Avalanche Layer 1 blockchain, increased need for the token for gas should also equate into buying pressure, hypothetically. That is a big thesis for, basically any Layer 1 coin out there. And we're just, flat out seeing Avalanche mentioned here by some of the biggest banks in the United States, being mentioned by Amazon as a partner. That is a big deal indeed. And I don't know if there was any official post from Amazon about this, but it's worth noting that this is a mutual partnership. It's not like Avalanche tapping into AWS technology. This is Amazon also benefiting from Avalanche through this subnet deployment. And the increase in adoption for Avalanche, can also be reflected here in the Q4 stats. So we're going to break this down a little bit. Now, in terms of financial insights, Avax's market cap, let me zoom out. Avax's market cap increased 344% quarter over quarter to $14.4 billion. Revenue increased 849% to 1.5 mil Avax, which was really strongly due to the emergence of the Avascriptions, that whole inscription craze that we saw late last year. Now, on the C chain, average daily transactions were up 450% quarter over quarter, partly due to inscriptions. Layer 0 Labs farming activity decreased, leading to a 50% QOQ decrease in daily active addresses. And additionally, let me move down here. So Avalanche subnets, active subnets increased from 13 to 16 in Q4. So subnets are also being built out on. New launches for Build on Beam and Hubble Exchange drove an increase in metrics for Q4, with subnet average daily transactions up 48% quarter over quarter and median average daily active addresses up 143%. DeFi TVL increased by 78% quarter over quarter to one build. The top three being Aave, Benki, Finance, and Trader Joe. So enterprises and RWAs, they talk about the JPMORGAN work, the Citigroup work, the Join Republic work, some more focus on subnets and gaming, but all this to say that yes, there has been a lot of adoption for the Avalanche blockchain. The token definitely has kind of followed suit in terms of the price action. And that's the last thing I do want to talk about to wrap things up. So we can see here just on a 1-year chart for Avalanche, right? A year ago today, it was at about $19 at the top end of this range, really struggling to break out above $20. It came all the way back down here to about the $8.50 mark before proceeding to go on a rip up to $50. So that run right there represented upside of basically 469%. Now from the bottom, it still sits up about 350%. And I believe the last time we covered this token, we said we were just looking for a validation of the support at that $30 area, which we did in fact get. And, from that bounce above the $30 area, it is up another solid like 30% from there, currently sitting at about $39. So this token, in classic crypto fashion, has been really volatile, but it has been a very good past couple of months for this token. Now, one thing I am eyeing when it comes to Avax is really just the fact that despite the impressive price action, this has actually still been a laggard compared to Solana, which is up over 10x from the lows. And I know that Solana is really popular amongst retail and some institutions, but to me, it looks like a lot of institutions are choosing Avax, and I do think this could be a very interesting catch-up trade in the Layer 1 space. So let me know what you think about the Avax token down below. I hope you all enjoyed the content in today's video. I hope you are all staying happy, safe, and healthy, and I hope to catch you in the next one. Peace out for now.